I think interviewing a cartoonist is a bit of a hazardous behavior, and today we have with us on Literary Goa,
Hazardous? Why hazardous? First time I'm hearing the word.
we have with us Alexy, Alex, Alex Rafael Fernandez, who's been my colleague for many years. So before he interrupts me a bit more, let me introduce Alexy to you, and let me put the ball in his court and ask him to tell how and why he got this name Alexy, which is very ungoan, almost Russian.
No, no, it's the beginning and the end. A to Z.
A to Z.
After college, I did a course in advertising and public relations. I specialized in copywriting. And during my stint with mass communication and marketing, there was a movie called Zorba the Greek. In that movie, Zorba's name was Alexyz. It was a Greek movie. And his character was somewhat like me. So in the office, they used to call me Alexyz. Then when I shifted to cartooning, I said I'll take that name and put a YZ to it.
I see.
So I baptized myself Alexyz.
For those of us who don't know Alexyz, and that will be a very few of us, I guess, because Alexy has been a cartoonist in Goa for a long time, right, from 1983,
Almost
84.
4 decades, yeah.
4 decades. He is known for his cartoons in many of the local papers.
All the local
All. You've done a full circuit.
I did the full circle.
Great. I've worked with you in the 80s when at that time the Konkani movement was going strong,
Yes.
and you felt very strongly about it, and the paper you were with in those days, Herald, also highlighted a lot of your work. I remember 8-column cartoons and all that. But of course
Full
today,
page too.
full page.
Yeah.
Those were fun days, and of course there are many Alexy stories that we guys who work along with you can narrate to the audiences, but that will take a year of Sundays to tell, so we won't get into that. Today we are here to talk about your books, and I was very surprised when you told me the other day that you have put together 7 books so far, 7 or 8,
7, I think.
all in one form or the other dealing with cartooning, many of them on Goa.
All of them on Go except the sports cartoons.
Sportoons. So actually Sportoons and How's That, these are your cricket cartoons, correct?
Yeah, this is only sports, and this was published during the Asian Games in 1982, even before I started cartooning.
Okay.
Yeah, it was published by this big publishing company, India Book House.
It's a big brand.
Yeah, so those
In
days
Bombay.
this Asian Games were supposed to be held, and I said, why not do sports cartoons? And I went with my cartoons, 103 cartoons, I think, or 105. I went to India Book House, and they said you should have come earlier. Anyway, it was not too late, and then they published my book.
These were your first books?
These were my first books. And you know what was the price then?
What?
Of the book?
Yeah.
7 rupees 50 paise.
I see. Those days very little publishing was happening.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to get published, and Bombay was a publishing hub of India before
Exactly.
Delhi took over. I mean, like it's a pan-India book, and one is on sports in general and one is on cricket in particular.
And cricket was published, this book called How's That was published in 1987 during the Reliance World Cup.
I see.
Yeah, that time Reliance had hosted the World Cup, and again it was published by Marine Sports.
Marine Sports.
Yeah, publishing company by Goan actually.
Goan,
yeah.
based in Dadar, no?
And based in Dadar.
Next to the Portuguese church, Marine Sports.
Yes. Theo Braganza.
Braganza.
Yeah.
So that is one section of your
And
book.
also let me tell you, both these books, they still are the first of its kind in India.
I see.
Nobody has published any sports book on sports cartoon.
Wow.
And nobody,
Till today?
Till today, I think so.
Okay.
I have never seen any.
Quite a niche,
And it
no?
is-
Quite a niche where
Yeah.
you take your love for sports and...
Yeah, because earlier in school I was a very good athlete.
I see.
Very good athlete, a very good football player. I almost played for Bombay.
Really?
I was selected for the trials, and then I was carried out of the ground because I was kicked on my knee.
I see.
And then I said I was suffering from pneumonia ever since.
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia. But that was the end of my football career.
I see.
If I wanted to be something, it was a footballer.
I see. I see.
Yeah,
So you combine your love for sports with your love for cartooning. And
this came later on because
80s.
after St. Xavier's College in Bombay, that was the turning point of my life actually.
Why?
Career, whatever, I was very much influenced by what I experienced in St. Xavier's College, all the social work camps, the ICUF camps. I did 17 camps
Wow.
during my college days.
Really?
Yeah.
But those years were very critical for India in the 60s because there was famine, drought, and a whole lot of problems. And I think that
Exactly.
colleges like St. Xavier's, Bombay, were ahead of the rest in terms of conscientizing students and
Exactly.
no?
I worked in earthquake areas. I worked in drought areas.
I see.
I went through all sorts
So it
of.
shaped your life.
So it really shaped my life. I felt what's happening. And then we had these other camps which were called, they were called leadership camps, I
I
think.
see. Social
where-
Service League? No. No.
Social Service League. So I did both these camps side by side.
Okay.
And there we were very idealistic those days. We said, okay, we have to change India from what is happening.
We can still
Whatever.
afford to be idealistic.
We
no?
can still afford. I still am in a little way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am.
So of course, I know your story, so maybe I can jump ahead of the listener and also say that you came with a lot of other Goan youth returned to Goa in the 70s itself,
Exactly.
moving out of the rat race, which was Bombay in those
Right,
days,
yeah.
already getting to be, and coming here experimenting with schools and alternative schools, alternative learning. You were an art teacher in this school
I was
that
an art teacher in my
Kalangut.
school, though I had no art training.
Okay.
And I remember my first day in the school, my student won a national scholarship. After that, nobody told me what to do. I
Really?
could do whatever I wanted.
Really?
Really.
So it was just your passion and your love for art that
Yeah, exactly.
that took you forward.
Yes.
So you're suggesting that youngsters should also go into fields that they really enjoy, that they feel passionate
Yeah,
about.
that is life, no? If you want to enjoy life, you do what you like doing best.
So that was your 70s, and of course, incidentally, in this group that came back also were Dr. Claude Alvarez, his wife Norma Alvarez, and Valentino Fernandez, the
Yeah, we were all part of the gang
Jos Peter.
in St. Xavier's College, and then Norma, of
Sophia's.
course, was in Sophia's. We had a lot of girlfriends in Sophia's via the camps that we used to
Okay.
go. We were all committed young students
Yeah,
wanting to do something.
yeah.
So that is how we became very good friends.
Okay.
We used to go here, there, everywhere together. And
And
then
then
we
you all moved
decided to
down.
come to Goa together.
And set up these experimental schools in Kalangut.
Yes, we thought we would start a commune actually. You
I
know?
see.
Yeah, but that experiment didn't work out.
Those days were very idealistic in the
Very
sense of
idealistic,
Woodstock and
yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
is. So when you're young,
Amazing.
you're dreaming, but still.
Yeah, one is still dreaming.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. But maybe with our feet on the ground now. So
Yes,
we are
yes,
forced to.
yes.
So then from the 70s we jumped to the 80s where I encountered you as a young journalist then and you as a young cartoonist making your break in the Herald.
Very much.
In the Herald. That was 83.
Herald was great. Those were my glory days actually because thanks to Rajan Narayan. Of course, they all appreciated my work and
Yeah.
most so the editor and he used to give me a lot of space.
Yeah.
A space that I don't think I'll ever get again.
I think they understood the fact that newspapers need not be all about politics, dry news, grey columns,
Yeah.
headlines. There's also space for fun, humor, criticism, echoing the people's sentiment. So you were doing it in a very big way in that sense, and they give you
Yeah.
the space for it.
Yeah, there were serious cartoons also because I was pulled up by the Goa Assembly 2-3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2-3 times.
yeah.
You had to issue any apologies or
But
go-
we never did that,
Okay.
We defied the assembly. In fact, I remember putting myself and Rajan Narayan in jail. In a cartoon.
in a cartoon.
We
Behind
almost-
bars. I remember that. Behind
Yeah,
bars.
Yeah, but we defied assembly to do that, It
Okay.
never happened.
Okay.
And I remember those days I even quoted arrest because I was very much part of the movement going
Konkani.
for morchas and
Konkani movement.
Konkani movement. And
Okay.
I remember people holding my cartoons and big banners. They used to
I
blow
see.
them up and walk
Walk with them like play cards.
with play cards. I didn't know how important a role I played till I went to France.
Okay.
And I stayed with a Goan family, and that Goan, Mr. Lawrence, I think, Lorenzo, he told me, my nephew knows you.
I see.
When the nephew came home, I said, I don't know you.
Yeah.
But he said, Alexyz, we knew you because we used to wait for your cartoons
see.
every day.
I see.
And that is how we knew you by your work. He took leave the next day
I see.
and he took me sightseeing all over Paris.
The media has its own power, and you
Yeah,
never know
yeah.
who's watching, who's reading, who's
Amazing, amazing.
So that
So that was the time I felt, my cartoons, doing those cartoons, though we were paid peanuts actually,
Yeah, small amounts.
hardly anything.
But still, I think
Yeah,
money is
but
not
those money
everything.
was not everything.
And sometimes when you do it with passion, it's even more satisfying than
money was never.
And you got the freedom also, which
Also, that was the main
mostly
thing.
most of the time.
I don't think I
90% of the time, that much freedom, no?
Yeah,
To say
yeah.
what you want.
I remember the boys in the office used to wait for my cartoon.
I see.
It doesn't happen now.
Yeah.
For one reason or the other.
Yeah. That time there was, that fire in the belly, and you needed to
Yeah.
make a point. So of course, the next coming link to that is the fact that a lot of your work is dealing with the environment in that sense. Another issue
Yeah.
you feel strongly about.
I remember Rajan Narayan used to call me cartoon terrorist in his editorials.
Okay.
Very often,
Yeah, I remember that. Of course, the environment is a issue you feel strongly about, would you say?
Very much, because most of my cartoons are
And this
regarding-
full book is regarding the environment.
This was actually, this book was published by Father Albert Lewis, who's no more now.
God bless his soul.
And actually, these are all very strangely done by Xerox and then put together.
Ah,
Yeah, but he was very keen that I do something.
yeah.
And well, this was one of my first books.
So
on
that's
environment.
during the time when the state was increasingly concerned about our environment, rightly so, and even now the
even
concern
now,
is there.
it's even worse now.
But it's worse now. But probably then people were just waking up to
The
normality of the
fact,
change,
yeah,
to the fact that it was changing so fast. So we were even getting more shocked. And of course, these two books are about Goa that is changing, and that
This book I felt is one of my best books because it's called Goa, Going and Gone, with a question mark, with a
Okay.
hope that Goa will never go away. And this book I did in verse actually.
I see.
The whole book is in verse.
I see. So there's a poet also hiding in you.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't call myself really a poet, but I like to write verse.
I see.
One worse than the other. So these are all in verse, and in fact the book is sold out, and I want to do a second edition because
I
I
see.
felt this. I said everything I feel about Goa
I see.
in this book.
And this is
This book are my cartoons that appeared in the Times of India recently.
Okay.
So they are all colored cartoons. They look very nice, and
Okay.
they are also very strong cartoons because the editor who was there then, Srinivas, he gave me a lot of scope
I see. To express yourself.
yeah, to express myself. That was great.
And of course, this is
See, cartooning never paid,
Yeah.
That's why I used to jump from one paper to another paper just for rupees 500 more.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was very feeling low at one time, and then suddenly I got this call from Fundusa Orient telling me
Okay.
that you are invited to Portugal.
I see.
And I was called to Portugal
Yeah.
for one international cartoon exhibition,
I see.
and they told me send me 100 of your cartoons.
I see.
And then they did this book.
I see.
Yeah, this book it's a booklet actually, not
I see.
really a book.
I see.
So most of my cartoons are there in that.
I see. In
I was very
Lisbon. In
happy.
Lisbon.
In Lisbon.
Of-
Out of Lisbon in Oeiras.
I see. Yes. Of course, cartooning is one of those fields where, like photography, which is not appreciated. Its true worth is not appreciated.
Yeah,
If
not
they have a
really.
cartoonist, they'll use a cartoonist, but they don't see it as an essential
Yeah.
part of the paper. Someone who has to. be
Sometimes
built
just to
up
fill up space or whatever.
Yeah.
That
Of-
is the sad part of.
Of course, in Bombay, they have a slightly different tradition where you have people like R.K. Lakshman and Mario Miranda and all who were a critical part of, Subnis, and they were there.
Those
but
days.
Yeah, those days. But then the tradition keeps.
I used to go to Bombay very often,
Yeah,
and I did cartoons for almost most of the papers.
I see.
From Indian Express, I did a lot of cartoons. Midday, I did a lot of
I see.
sports cartoons.
Sports cartoons.
Yeah, Asian Age
I see.
and Sunday Observer. Illustrated Weekly while Kushwant Singh was there.
It was a grand magazine in those days.
Those
no?
days, yeah. I did a lot of cartoons when Kushwant was around.
I
also.
see. I see.
Initially, I wanted to go back to Bombay
I see.
because I saw no scope in cartooning in Goa actually.
True. Goa, you have a limited choice, whereas in
Limited
Bombay,
choice, yeah.
it was the media capital, and
So anyway, I couldn't go for one reason or the other, but no regrets, absolutely no regrets.
Yeah.
I think I did fairly good by staying back in Goa.
You have traveled quite a few places, no? Portugal to exhibit. Any other places for?
Yeah, and then I remember I had this big exhibition in the House of Commons.
I see.
Every time Keith was the Goan MP,
Yeah.
he used to come to Goa
Yeah.
and he used to have press conferences. I used to go for the press conference. do a caricature of him at
I
the
see.
end of the press conference, give it to him.
I see.
And he was quite impressed actually. And
I
he,
see.
after a few, I think it happened after 2-3 times, he said, Alexyz, you must come to England.
I see.
And he had this exhibition in the House of Commons.
Wow. Mother Parliament.
Yeah, the mother of all parliaments. And that was a big thing, you know, because for the first time also when I was having the exhibition, Keith said, invite all your Goan friends.
I see.
So Goans who never got to step into
I see.
Parliament got to come to Parliament House, see my exhibition. And
I
I
see.
remember Parliament was going on. Keith specially took me
I see.
into Parliament House, and
Wow,
I
quite
was
a-
part of. Yeah, it was a great experience. And then he was quite impressed. There were a few MPs who came for the exhibition also. And then there is a meet of African and Asian entrepreneurs. He said,
I
you
see.
must do some cartoons on some special people there.
I see.
And there was an exhibition in London, Marriott, I remember.
I see.
And I presented my caricatures to 2 or 3 British MPs. And one guy was so impressed, he said, really, this is for me? I said, it is for you.
So, is it your point that cartooning as a field is appreciated more outside of?
I was invited to Kuwait,
Yeah.
to Dubai, then to Canada, to America, New Zealand, to
I see.
Australia. So all this was because people outside Goa appreciated me,
Yeah.
me more than the people in Goa.
Right.
So that was the bonus actually, though I felt I was not paid
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
but this was the big bonus that I got invited to these
True.
places here by Goans, you know,
I
who
see.
really appreciated my work.
Expat Goans.
Expat, yeah. And I remember I spent 47 days in America and
see.
Canada.
I see.
Yeah. So somebody
Wow.
was saying even the Salgaonkars were not able to spend 47 days and without spending a single pie. You know, I had these friends all over. I remember going to England. There were 4 people who came to receive me.
I see.
And they took me to another Goan's house, Eddie Fernandez,
Yeah,
Goan
yeah,
boy.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't know him.
I see.
And I stayed with him for 1 week,
I see.
or more than a week. And then one distant Gaon Bao of mine, he said, come on, now enough of staying with Eddie. You come and stay
I
with
see.
me.
I see.
And after the exhibition, I was getting invited all over the
I
place.
see. I see.
I could have stayed for 6 months also, I think. But I managed. Keith had told me only 3 days. He said, I'll put you up in a hotel.
I see.
And then after 3 days, you pack your bags and go back to Goa.
Yeah.
So I stayed for 1 month.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I see. I see.
And I could have stayed even for a longer time. And during those days, they would tell me, why don't you settle down in England itself? I said, no, I'm happy in my Goa.
That is true.
So that was a fact.
But so Alexyz, what's the incident that pushed you into cartooning, into drawing? You liked it as a kid, or?
No. As I told you, St. Xavier's College,
Yeah.
Bombay was a turning point. And at that time, I was fairly good with words and drawings. So I took advice from my friends, and they said, well, you go into advertising, that's a new field,
I see.
a very popular field.
A lot of Goans in the field that
A
time, no?
lot of Goans also. And then I did a course in advertising and public relations.
I see.
So I got a job before I could finish my course.
I see.
But I lasted only 1 year in advertising because I felt it was a big con game. You got to tell 100 lies to sell a product.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't
It's
do
not
this.
enjoyable at all. It's like
not. There
the
is
money
a
is
lot
good,
of
but,
money, glamour,
Yeah.
whatever you met.
but you're not
so-called.
doing what you feel. And
Yeah, I said, I'm not going to do this all my life. And that is when we all decided we'll go to.
Goa. Move
I
down.
tried my hand at cartooning then.
I see.
I met Mario Miranda, and Mario Miranda put me on to Khalil of Midday.
Khalid Ansari.
I did a called comic strip.
I see.
It appeared in Sports Week, but they were paying hardly anything yet.
I see.
For several other magazines, but it was not paying much. So then we decided to come to Goa.
And become a drawing teacher.
Not become a drawing teacher. I said, I was at a loose end,
Okay.
and I was fairly good at drawing. Pete started at school. There was
Yeah.
this big strike against Father Salas.
Yeah.
And they opened the school.
Happy
And I
learners.
was still moving around.
Happy Learners, which subsequently
No,
became.
no, no.
No.
At that time, Peter and I came to Goa together, and Peter got involved in the school.
Okay.
And I moved ahead and I went to Mangalore.
I see.
And I was working at a farm with another Xavierite,
I see.
yeah, for some time. And then I came back. And then Peter said, we have started the school, why don't you come? But there was no vacancy actually. But he said, there's a vacancy for a peon. But we'll give you other jobs,
I
whatever.
see. I see.
So I joined the school as a peon.
Oh gosh.
And then there was this vacancy for a drawing teacher.
Although you were a graduate in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. But as I told, we had big plans.
Yeah.
So being a peon was not important.
Yeah.
We had other plans. So then I joined as a drawing teacher, as I told you.
I see.
Then Happy Learners came subsequently.
Life is what's happening when you're making other plans, but
Yeah.
then it all works out for the
Yeah,
best,
it
and
all
sometimes
works
you
out.
find a bonus which you don't expect at all.
Exactly.
I remember some of the humor that you used to indulge in when you were a cartoonist and very popular with all the other staff because of your unpredictable and do you want to give the audience a taste of that?
No,
Not
nothing
now.
like that. But now I'm on this trip of laughter, I feel laughter really is good medicine.
It's therapeutic.
And if I have an audience in front of me, I said, come on, let's laugh,
I remember your laughing sessions, and once you got them laughing, then they got so much into it that they could not control themselves, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, this last book here of yours talks about theatrists, and there are illustrations of many of the Goan theatrists.
See, this book is an interesting book because I felt theatrists were once type of people that really kept Goa's identity going, especially in Bombay. And that time Bombay was the hub of theatre,
Yeah,
not Goa.
true.
And these are the people that really took Konkani to another level because, as you know, the theatre is always in Konkani.
Yeah,
So I felt when this 125 years was of the Konkani theatre was announced, I said I would do my little bit and give them little prominence via caricatures. So I met the Theatre Academy and they said, great idea, go ahead.
I see.
And they gave me full scope to
References and photographs
they
of
gave
them.
me references. I did a lot of research myself.
I see.
Meeting people, talking to people, even which the Theatre Academy didn't know.
I see.
I put in all this. So it's a very interesting book.
I was not aware of it till I saw it last month.
Now,
Yeah.
last month, okay.
A bit late.
I did another thing with this book, with the caricatures. I did 103 caricatures.
I see.
Yeah, these are all people, theatrists who had died in the past. They are none of the local.
see.
Yeah. And I felt that was my memory alive in the form of documentation. And another thing I did was I've donated all these caricatures to the Central Library.
I see.
So people, anytime they want, they can an exhibition of them. They can
I see.
borrow it from the Central Library, whatever they want.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so that was one thing I did because many people wanted to buy them, relatives of the theatrists. I said if I sell, they'll break the
Collection will
trend.
get spoiled, yeah.
So I met the curator, Dr. Fernandez, and he was very happy.
I see.
And I said, yeah, there is a place for my cartoon. So he will be putting up some.
Interesting.
And then I think now within a month, I think they'll have a public
see.
function of my gifting the caricatures to. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
So
Very nice.
I was happy with what I
So
did.
these are the areas of your work, basically sports, environment, Goa, caricatures. You do a lot of caricatures.
I love doing caricatures and I keep doing them all the time. Actually, my next book of caricatures will be on Goan musicians.
I see.
Because they are not documented. So that will take some time because I have to meet a lot of people.
One last question. Would
Yes.
you recommend any youngsters to enter the field of cartooning?
Well.
It's a
if
tough
you-
field. It's a tough field. And
Yeah, but then you have to have some kind of social awareness. You just
Yeah.
can't enter the field of cartooning. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You have to be socially committed to what is happening around. Then only you can be a successful cartoonist. And not everybody can be a cartoonist. I joined cartooning because with the background I had of St. Xavier's College, going for all the social work camps and experiencing India, the people, what they were going through, the anguish, the sorrow, the pain, in the drought affected areas. And why was that happening? Because our politicians never bothered about them. They're only interested in the urban areas. Even now what is happening
True.
with these farmers committing
Yeah.
suicide and all, it's still happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the sad part. So unless you experience something of what is happening around you and you feel committed that you want to say something about
Right.
it, then only you can be a cartoonist. Of course, you can to other areas like sports and science. Even cartooning can be done
There.
in different areas, not necessarily political,
Yeah.
socio-political cartoon. There is scope. And now there is scope if you are a good cartoonist, you can do animations, get into other aspects of cartooning. There's a lot of scope now. But for socio-political cartoon, you have to be committed. No, it's not for everybody.
True. Thank you so much, Alexyz.
Yeah,
Here's
yeah.
wishing you all the best and looking forward to many more of your books and work.
Anyway, thank you very much. And it was lovely speaking. I enjoyed myself and I hope I carry a little bit of my message to all of you. Be a cartoonist, be a committed cartoonist. Thank you.